Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 117. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Microsoft FTC, Marvel News, Sonic Prime Season 2, my adventures with Superman, Secret Invasion, and more. But as usual, we're going to start with our recent activities. But first, shout out to my brother for helping us create new graphics, and also the Fiverr guy that I hired to make everything look all cutesy and shit. But, yeah, let's just get into our recent activities. I will let Damian go first, and then I will follow suit.
Yeah, so I beat it Final Fantasy XVI. I did that before, I think right after the podcast last week. I was like, let me beat this game. And yeah, basically everything I said, in the last podcast still stays true, where I think the story, characters, narrative, all that stuff was really good. I do think by the end, it gets a little tropey with things JRPGs like to do. I won't spoil it, but if you played any JRPG, you know how most of them end. It ends like that, but it's still hype. It gets very anime at the end. I love it. Like I said in the last podcast, it basically loses all its Game of Thrones edge near the middle, and it becomes super JRPG and anime. I mean, I like that, so I don't mind. But I've been reading some stuff online where some people really like the more grounded approach, and people didn't really appreciate it becoming more of the typical JRPG stuff. But I'm okay with that. I like the power of friendship and all that stuff. I'm always okay with that. And my negatives are still basically the same. The RPG stuff is really weak. I think they could have done a lot more with that. The action combat is fun, but it can only go so far. Like I also said before, where by the end game, you're basically doing the same combo each and every time, and because it's just best. It's just the best thing to do. You just do a Giga Flare and Diamond Dust shit, and then everything's dead, and Zentetsuken and everything dies. So it's not there's not a lot of variety by the end game. So yeah, I feel like that stuff could have been a lot better if you're able to do different builds and have different abilities and all that. But the game is really limited in what you have. So hopefully if they do another Final Fantasy 17, or if they do a re-release of this game, they could just add in some more spice, either with the gear or with more abilities. I think there's a lot more they could have done. But for what it is, I still think it's pretty fun to play through. But I don't know how well would be for other people that wanted something a bit meatier in terms of gameplay. Another sort of weakness, like I said, also is the side quests. I think narratively they're really, really good. Especially by the end game, I think they were really good narratively. But actually playing through them is pretty boring. You just kill shit, or you just talk to a guy, and yeah, it's not really anything that extreme. You don't unlock extra dungeons or anything. I think that would have been cool if they did that, but yeah, so if you don't really care about the world or characters or anything like that, I think the side quests are really fine to skip. Mostly because the rewards are pretty bad too. You don't really get a lot from doing them either. So yeah, I feel like they definitely could have balanced those a bit more to be a bit more exciting gameplay wise, and give you just more rewards in general. Because I appreciate it in terms of story and stuff, but not everyone is like that. So yeah, I definitely think the side quests are kind of a hit or miss depending on what kind of player you are. But yeah, besides that, I love the game. I think I said this last podcast as well. The music is fucking fantastic. If it loses soundtrack of the year, I'm gonna lose it, because there's no way, dude. It's so good. But yeah, I loved it. There's a lot of flaws with it. And if Tears of the Kingdom didn't come out this year, probably would have been my game of the year. But I think, for me, Tears of the Kingdom is basically flawless at this point. I love that game. 16 does have a bit bigger flaws than that game does. So definitely still loved it. And if you're into RPGs, or maybe if you're more into action games and maybe want to get your hand in, I guess, more of a RPG type experience, then I guess this is right for you. I think it's great for people that has never played a Final Fantasy game before, and if you're turned off by turn-based combat or anything like that, I think this game will kind of fit right in there, because it plays a lot more like the newer God of War games. So yeah, really good. I still loved it, but it definitely has some flaws, but yeah, I still fucking loved it. Next, I actually beat this last night, Pikmin 2. Holy shit, this game got fucking hard at the end. So yeah, basically everything I said before was also applies last podcast of this game, where it's I think the game does do a good job with all the mechanics and quality of life stuff. I think the Pikmin AI isn't as bad as in the first game. It's still not great. Pikmin will still just do stuff you don't want them to. And I feel like most of my Pikmin deaths were because of that. If ever my Pikmin were near water, and they want to attack a guy and I dismissed them, they would just like kill themselves in the water, and it was so annoying. I do appreciate that Pikmin just go behind you when going past bridges now. That's really nice, because in one it would just kind of spill over and die. But yeah, so like all the controls, the second captain, you know, all that stuff is great. The dungeons though, like I think they're a good idea in practice, like in theory, like they're fun to go through and stuff, but I do feel like it kind of takes away of what like makes Pikmin being like that time management and, you know, divvying up resources, like doing a bunch of different things at once. Like you don't really get that in the dungeons. You just go through it like a normal dungeon crawler, like just with Pikmin. You know, it's like a small area, you attack some enemies, you fight some bosses. Like it's fun, like the gameplay loop is fun to collect treasure and, you know, kill things, but I feel like that's kind of not what Pikmin's about. It's more about the overworld stuff and, you know, like I said, just divvying up all your resources and going across the map, collecting a bunch of objectives at the same time. And with a second captain, it made that gameplay more compelling. But, you know, 2 just doesn't really focus on that. It's mostly about the dungeons. And, you know, like I said, the dungeons are a fun gameplay loop, and I'm happy they're in 4. But I just feel like it was too focused on the dungeons in this game and not enough on the overworld stuff. And, you know, I thought the difficulty was, like, fine. It was, like, harder than 1 until it got to the last area, and it was just kind of bullshit. Like, the last 2 dungeons, the Dream Den and, like, Hole of Heroes, like, those 2 dungeons are, like, insanely hard. Like, they just throw... Like, it kind of feels like a really bad Mario Maker level where there's, like, you just throw in so many enemies at once and just, like, figure it out. I'm like, what do you mean figure it out? There's, like, 40 things that could insta-kill me. Like, that's not very fair. But I did it, and I 100%ed it, because why not? I got all the treasures and stuff. But, yeah, it was really hard. You know, I think there's a balance between having the game be too easy and too hard. Like, I think Pikmin 1 was a good, like, difficulty balance where... if you like fix up the controls, I think that game would be perfect. But the combat encounters were still difficult in 1, but in 2, I think they just ramped it up a little too much. But yeah, either way, I think Pikmin 2 was still a good time. I definitely would not recommend this to newcomers or anything. You know, I know some people are afraid of Pikmin 1's time limit and stuff, but you got plenty of time in that game. Like, don't be afraid. Like, you'll be fine. I think Pikmin 1 is definitely a nice starting off point, and then go to 2, because this game basically expects you to know how to play Pikmin at that point, and it's pretty difficult. But yeah, I don't think the game is as hard as people say. It's just like the last area could like suck it. So still a great game. I'm really excited to go to Pikmin 3 now, and then Pikmin 4. You know, just go through the whole series. Why not? I was gonna take a break. Yeah, I know Pikmin 3 is like peak for a lot of people.
It
Pikmin,
is,
if you will. But like, I know my brother and you feel the exact same way. So I'm very excited to play Pikmin 3. But yeah, you know, that's the OG Pikmin. So happy I played them. And and I guess the port quality, I didn't really talk about how the ports were. They're good. Like, I think the games look really crisp. Like, I think they're 1080p. Like, they really pop out. It has the same controls as the Wii version, so if you're used to the pointer controls, you could do that. It's obviously not going to be as good as the Wii pointer controls, because Joy-Cons just aren't as good as the Wii modes for that. But it's good that it's an option. Apparently, in the OG Pikmin one, you can like swap Pikmin around. Like, if you're about to throw a Pikmin and you can hold L and R to like switch the color. Apparently, you couldn't do that in the GameCube version, but you can in this, so that's good. But so yeah, a lot of great quality of life stuff. So I think the Switch ports are great. And if you want to play the whole series, you could right now on the Switch. So I really appreciate that they did that. All right, so next up I have a bunch of media here, like non-video game stuff. Beef, Travis and I watched this. Basically, I think Travis already talks about this in our like earlier episode. But basically about these two people, they get into like sort of like a road rage incident, and then like everything goes to shit, basically. You basically learn about these two people who seem pretty different on the surface. Like, one lady is very rich and like she has a completely like nice life and stuff, or it would appear that way. And this other guy is broke and, you know, is poor and is like living the completely opposite end of the life spectrum, I guess. But as you go through the series, you start to learn that they're not so different, you and I, and all that stuff. And, you know, by the end, like you see there's more common that these characters have, and they both are kind of messed up in their own ways as well. You know, the drama is great. The it's just funny. Like, it's not like too serious. Like, there's some serious moments, but you know, I think most of the time I was like having a good time watching it. It's just the escalation of all the things that happen throughout the series that makes it insane, and it just makes you like want to keep watching the next episode, because you don't know what kind of crazy shit these people will one up each other with, because it starts with like just a road rage incident, but then they try to get back at each other almost like every other episode, and every time they do, it just keeps increasing the intensity of it. So it was a very entertaining series. I really liked it a lot. All the acting was great. And yeah, I thought it was just really good. A nice like ending, like good message and shit, I guess, about being like, sometimes, people are more similar than you think. Just, also just talk it out before you do anything. If you're mad at someone, just talk it out. No need to do violent or crazy stuff, But yeah, a great series on Netflix. It's like 10 episodes. And the episodes are not overly long. They're like 30-ish minutes, not like hour episodes. So I think it's very bingeable. You can basically watch it in like a day or two. So highly recommended. Black Mirror, they finally released a new season. It's been a while. Like, I forget that it's been quite a while since the last Black Mirror season. And, this is a series where we talked about it a few times. It's an anthology series. So it's great to just, pick an episode, watch it, and then just like maybe pick it up at some point. Like, these are very much like you could binge them if you want, but it's also nice just to pick and choose what you want. Like, I've never watched all of Black Mirror. Like, I've seen like maybe a dozen episodes or so of the show. So, I think it's good for that. But apparently the season has been pretty good, I think, from what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I've only watched two. I watched Joan is Awful and Lock Henry.
So
and
the
those two
first
were really
two.
good. Yeah, the first two. And Joan is Awful is, it's really funny. It also goes like really crazy with its concept. It's basically it's like peak Black Mirror, like technology bad, we live in a society type deal, but like, and not subtly, but that's kind of the point. Like, it's meant to be like more of like in your face, and it's less like disturbing and more like just funny. I don't want to give like the concept away, I guess, but it's pretty unique in how they do things.
And very topical. Very, very topical.
Yeah, and very topical with the streaming wars and like what's ethical and stuff within streaming. And I think it plays well into that. Like, I'm surprised that Netflix is like okay with this sometimes. Like, it's like basically directed at Netflix, but I guess it's fine. Lock Henry was a little more subtle with its thing. It's meant to be a little more serious and stuff. I like this one a lot because it kind of tackles the whole true crime thing. As someone that does enjoy true crime, I am aware of the ethical quandaries of that genre, being like, is it okay to watch this? Like, you're taking a real tragedy and try to make it into entertainment, basically. Like, people would watch it and not really think that, oh yeah, that was like real people that this happened to, and it tackles that pretty well, I think. Obviously it's still pretty, the subject matter is pretty like obvious, like, yeah, like, this is bad and stuff. If taken to the extreme, like, I think, I was telling you, like, I think Dahmer was pretty bad in how I handled that stuff. Like, there's ways to do it tastefully and then there's bad ways to do it. And Dahmer was really bad at how you handled it because, again, it treats this tragedy like a drama, and then it kind of just makes it like entertainment, I guess. Like, it doesn't really present you with facts or whatever. It's kind of just like, this is what's happening. And I don't know, it just felt weird. And I feel like this is more like a response to like that sort of stuff. But yeah, I thought the episode topic was really interesting. And I really enjoyed that episode because, yeah, that genre of TV or whatever is a weird gray area. I enjoy it, but I know it has some messed up stuff to it. And last up is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So, yeah, I really like this movie as well. We both watched it.
Yep.
As someone that has watched a few Mission, I'm not like deeply into it or anything. I've just watched like, I think like 2 or 3, I think at this point. They're just fun action movies, right? Like, you got like cool plot points, you got some like double, triple crossing stuff going on. You got some really awesome action scenes. It's just a really straightforward, just fun action movie. And that's basically all you can ask for these movies. There are some funny moments in there as well. It's not like too dark or anything. But the more serious moments still hit, like they don't like undercut it or anything. And Tom Cruise is just insane. He always has that one stunt in these movies that's like crazy. And if you've seen any of the trailers or the commercials, you probably know this one is with the motorcycle off a cliff. Like, it's pretty crazy. In all the other movies, he's done insane stunts like that as well. But yeah, it's just a really good time. If you're kind of tired of like maybe superhero stuff, or you want something a little more simple, I think this is a great movie just to watch. Like, you really don't need to know anything about the series either, besides like his main team, I guess. But they kind of just be like, yeah, they're his friends, and that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to our friend Louis, who is trying to get me to watch the previous Mission Impossible movie, Fallout, but I fell asleep for like half of it because I was fucking tired.
Yeah.
But, that movie what I watched was good enough for me to like understand what was happening and like who these characters are, obviously, with like Ethan Hunt and everything like that. And going into this movie, I was like, yeah, it's probably just going to be a really good action movie, which it was. There's like some espionage stuff going on, obviously, with sort of like the AI technology and sort of like what they were doing with this movie's plot. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It's like almost 3 hours long, and like it can drag on. Yeah, it can drag on for some people. But then again, I think your mom was just like, what was that, like 2 hours? And I was like, no, that like shit was not 2 hours. So, it could either fly by or it could be a slow drag. I think I was the latter. It was a little slower, but I could tell when the movie was going to end just because Tom Cruise was like, I wanted this movie, even though it's a part one, to have like a complete story, which for the most part it did. And yeah, the new characters, Haley Atwell as Grace, I think that she did a fantastic job. I think she talked about within interviews that like this is like her first big like blockbuster role where she's like the main character kind of thing, and like I agree with that. And yeah, she does a fantastic job, and I hope that she gets more roles like this and just gets more gigs in general, because before this movie I think pretty much everyone understood her as Captain Carter kind of thing. Like she was just Captain America's love interest, but like she never really had like the spotlight for herself. And I think that this movie did a fantastic job just like letting her shine and her be like the secondary primary character in it. And yeah, like there's obviously like a really good just like amount of like set pieces in it, not just with like the motorcycle, but I think the fucking train sequence.
There's like 3 like set pieces, like major like things going on. There's like a lot of like really cool moments. Yeah,
there's just a lot going on, and I think that even if you don't know Mission Impossible like I did, I think you can go into this film and enjoy it. Just be prepared that it is going to be a long movie, and with Barbie and Oppenheimer coming out tomorrow, if you're gonna watch all 3 of those movies, not a sponsor or anything, but definitely a perfect time to like subscribe to A-List and pay that $25 a month and just watch all 3 of those movies for that single price point. But yeah, movies are back. I'm fucking happy about it. So
cinema.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of cinema, I watched Past Lives. This is a very small A24 movie about some Korean kids who grew up together, and then one of them moves away, and they sort of reconnect at different points within their life, and they sort of reconnect in certain ways. But it is definitely like a movie where you just have to watch it to like really experience it for yourself. And yeah, it is a very, very good movie. I don't really want to sort of spoil too much or really talk about it in depth, just because I feel like that this is a movie that, if you are interested in just watching good films, just go watch it. It's probably leaving theaters probably about now, because it has been out for a month or so. And like I said, it's a very small movie. Not a lot of people were seeing it just because, it just doesn't have that sort of budget to, advertise itself and shit like that. But I saw it at like 10:30 p.m. because I was like the only time within my area to go see it, and I was just like, I want to see it, so I saw it during that time. And yeah, it is just really, really good. I haven't watched a movie like this where like the ending was just so sad, but also like so satisfying at the same time. I was like, fuck, man, but like at the same time, like I get it, like where these characters are and like what they've been through within their lives and things like that. So yeah, just a very, very good movie. I'm definitely buying that shit on Blu-ray when it comes out. So yeah. Speaking of some games, I forgot to talk about this last time. I feel like I always forget to bring something up. But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I finally finished it. And I have my review all scripted out. I just have to sort of go through it once again, publish it on Medium, and then make the video, which will probably be out next week. But anyways, Jedi Fallen Order, very, very good game. I think that if you are not like familiar with the Souls-like genre, you can definitely start off with this one, just because there's like a difficulty sort of level that you can actually set it to. I'm pretty sure the Dark Souls games and like Elden Ring and things like that, you can't really set a difficulty.
Nah,
it might,
set,
yeah. So yeah, if you want to play a Souls-like game where you could start off like on easy mode and sort of just like get the mechanics of it, this is definitely it. And also, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is like perfect for it as well. The story is very, very good. I think that introducing Cal Kestis and sort of like a whole new cast of characters, not sort of tied into like the legacy characters that we all know and love, except for that one cameo at the end. But other than that, it's pretty much a brand new Star Wars story that takes Order 66 and sort of spins it around with a brand new story around a Jedi and a different cast of characters. Even like the antagonist with like the second sister is like pretty interesting as well. So But also just like the gameplay. Like I said, the Souls-like elements are very, very good. But also there's like Metroidvania stuff in there, which like I noticed when I was playing, but like I like Googled it and like went on like the Wikipedia page to like make sure like this is like Metroidvania, right? Because like, you know, we're getting upgrades, we're going back to like old planets and whatnot. So yeah, it is a lot of fun. Very, very good. I think that you know, like I said, want to get into the Souls-like genre, but also just want to play a good Star Wars game, you can check this out. I know Jedi Survivor is still, you know, a mess overall, but I'm definitely going to hopefully check that out before the end of this year, if not early next year. But yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, very, very good. Is there anything you want to say about that game, Damian? Or
yeah, I mean, the game I think is just great. It's really unfortunate about Jedi Survivor because I heard it's good. It's just that, you know, performance-wise, it's still kind of a mess. It's getting better, but just like you, I'm gonna wait a little bit because you know, I want to play it in the best possible way I can. Like, I don't want to like force myself to play a worse version of it so far. So I'll wait. Like, I don't want to wait too much longer though, but we'll see. I mean, I have Pikmin 4. I was going to do Jedi Survivor after that if it wasn't still broken, but it kind of still is. So I'm probably going to do RE4 at this point. There's a lot of games out this year, so it's kind of hard to like, once it misses its window, it kind of misses its window for a bit. So I'll definitely want to play it because, again, like you said, Jedi Fallen Order I think was great. Like, I love all the characters. You know, I think Cal's pretty solid protagonist. I think the gameplay is just super fun. So and Survivor is just more of that. So yeah, hopefully they patch it so it's not like running like horribly. But I guess we'll see when they do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, even like Jedi Fallen Order to a certain extent doesn't run 100%, but at the same time it's actually still playable. So
yeah.
But moving on from there, I'm going to talk about some Overcooked because I actually finished the first game on this collection, All You Can Eat. So it's pretty much has both Overcooked games along with all of the DLC, and there's like a bunch of other stuff in there. You could pick like over 50 chefs or some shit like that. I don't know how many are there, but yeah, you know, when you like open up the screen, it's just like a bunch of characters, and I'm just like, I don't know who to pick. Anyways, you know, if you guys don't know what Overcooked is pretty much a cooperative game where you are in the kitchen and just making food. And there's obviously like a lot of other things going on within the gameplay, like certain levels you may be on ice, certain levels you may be on fire. So there's obviously chaotic elements in there to make it impossible for you to like get all 3 stars. Well, maybe not impossible, just harder overall. I have been a fan of Overcooked ever since the first one came out. I still remember us playing it on my couch over here. And then when Overcooked 2 came out, I bought the Switch version because we were going on the road and we went to play it at like SmashCon in like our hotel room. And I was playing Overcooked 2 on the Switch with my girlfriend, but it was so fucking bad and just buggy. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just buy the PS5 version and then we'll play it on there. And also, the game is crossplay. So like, if you
that's nice.
If you have the PS5 version like myself and you want to play it with someone on PC, like my girlfriend, you can't do that, which is pretty cool. You know, I think that this is the first game where I've actually played with crossplay where, you know, it actually like works and it actually, you know, is like really, really good. You know, there's obviously like a separate, like, I guess like gamer tag for like Team 7 sort of thing. So like you can find your friend a lot easier. But yeah, you know, Overcooked is still a lot of fun. I really do like these games where you're sort of just like working together to go and get something done or whatever. But yeah, you know, now we're working through Overcooked 2 and I'm not sure exactly what sort of chaos is going to happen there because Overcooked 1, there's a lot going on, especially like later on. I felt like that they were just throwing like a lot of bullshit at me. I was just like, all right, whatever. But maybe Overcooked 2 will be better. I don't know. But, you know, we're still very, very early on within it. Is there anything you want to say about Overcooked, Damian? Or
I'm like awful at Overcooked. it's like really, it's like a lot. I'm just like, I just like freak out whenever like things happen, especially with like some of the levels get really complicated. Like, it's less about even cooking it. It's more like just navigating this like horrible kitchen of like death. So, and I think 2 gets even crazier. So good luck with that.
All right, so now we're going to get into some gaming news and then entertainment stuff, and then we'll move on from there. But first, Microsoft wins the FTC fight to buy Activision Blizzard. My apologies. So yeah, pretty much they won the case against the FTC, which I think was like a huge like sort of case for them to win, especially for them to acquire it within the United States. So yeah, I mean, I guess Microsoft was able to prove that they weren't going to sort of monopolize whatever games and properties that they were going to get from Activision Blizzard. So, and I think they also signed a deal to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for several years. I think I forgot to put that on here.
It's 10 years.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I see it right here. But yeah, you know, they pretty much agreed to keep it on sort of PlayStation consoles for the next 10 years, which is like a pretty good thing. It shows that Microsoft isn't trying to fuck everyone over by buying Activision Blizzard. But, there's always like that thought within my mind personally where it's like, they could do that if they wanted to kind of thing. So,
Right.
but yeah, hopefully that this deal ends up not being as bad as people really see it as. I'm always sort of like benefit of the doubt kind of thing, but hopefully Microsoft is able to show that they're not as bad as people say they are.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's always hard to say because it's like some people always are going to see this as a negative because it's better to have a bunch of third parties than just have like 3 like players in the game, right? And I agree with that. Like, in a way, it is kind of negative because, like, yeah, there's less competition and Microsoft has like a bunch more power now. But I think they have been pretty good in compromising and sort of giving more power to the consumer with this 10-year stuff with PlayStation, and Call of Duty could be on there for 10 more years. Hopefully, that's just indefinite at this point because the FTC's main case was that Call of Duty is too strong to just be an exclusive like for one console because it's such a popular franchise. So we have to see about that. Luckily, I don't really care about Call of Duty that much. So it's not really a negative for me. But I know that would be dumb for me to just say that doesn't matter because of course it matters. So hopefully they could come to an agreement with Call of Duty at least. But it seems like Microsoft is sort of playing friendly. Like they just announced that Overwatch is going to be on Steam now, which is weird. So that's a thing they're doing now. So that's kind of cool. I don't know what this is going to mean for any other, like, if there's going to be a new Crash game, is that going to be only on Xbox, or if they do like, I don't know, Diablo 5, is that going to be on PlayStation still? Like, we don't really know yet because Microsoft has been really weird with their exclusives. Like Starfield is going to be an exclusive, but even then they weren't like sure. It's like we didn't know until for a while if it was going to be an exclusive. So, I think some things they definitely are going to keep it exclusive, but I don't know. For other things, I'm not too sure. Like I don't know if Blizzard stuff is going to be multi-platform always, and some Activision stuff is going to be like for Xbox only. We don't really know yet. But, I do like the leadership more about Phil Spencer than, Bobby Kotick. Like, he's still there, but hopefully they could just give him the boot at this point because he's obviously a terrible person. And hopefully leadership could be a bit better. And I also hope Microsoft just is more hands-on with the studios now, since we've known for a while that they're really hands-off and like, okay, you guys could do whatever you want. We're kind of just here to give you money and that's about it. And that's fine to an extent if the company knows what they're doing. Like, Double Fine. Like, I think they kind of knew what they were doing. They just needed extra money to make like things like Psychonauts 2 and it came out great. But then you have things like 343 where it's like they're kind of dying because they don't know what they're doing ever. and then Halo Infinite came out and it was kind of a mess, even though it didn't have to be. I think Microsoft should really step in and start like whipping these companies to shape just a little bit. Still give them a bunch of freedom to do what they want, but also like just structure them to not be like total messes. And I think Blizzard is going to need that, especially because they're obviously a mess of a company. So I guess we'll see though. Monopolizing and people buying out everything is always not really a great thing, and I kind of hope it stops. Like, I don't want things like Square Enix to get bought out by Sony, and I don't really want Capcom to be bought out either, because I think they're better as just third parties doing their own thing. But I know people are going crazy, like, oh, someone should buy Capcom now, someone should buy Square now. And I'm just like, I think they should be left alone at this point. So, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's just like the same thing I said last time where it's like, Microsoft trying to buy Sega. I think that it is a great thing for them to partner up with these companies, but not just outright be under them. I think having exclusives and sort of like timed things happening, I think that is like very healthy for the gaming industry because, if everyone sort of gets a piece of the pie, then everyone sort of is thriving and succeeding in a way. So having, Square Enix be very friendly with Sony, I think that's good, but also have their games be released on Xbox, that is also like a good thing. But, if PlayStation buys Square Enix and then it's like, ah, shit, like that shit's 100% not moving from PlayStation because Sony's very much like greedy in terms of like what they get with their exclusives because they know exclusives sell consoles. And obviously the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 even were selling like hotcakes because of the games that they had on their library. And, people still buy Xboxes for reasons that they like the console, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that, having them have Activision Blizzard, I think that is okay for now. We'll see exactly where it goes. Like I said, Starfield being a exclusive to PC and Xbox, I think that may be okay. We'll see exactly if they're gonna move it to PlayStation or whatever. That shit is not gonna run on a Nintendo Switch. I'm sorry.
Not.
But them obviously, like you said, having Call of Duty be a 10-year agreement on PlayStation and also them releasing Overwatch on Steam, they don't have to do these things. Maybe the Call of Duty thing they do have to do, but with the Overwatch thing, they don't have to do that. But they did it anyways because they're like, well, if we're, putting it on more platforms, especially on Steam, where it's literally the biggest PC marketplace out there, you're allowing more people to play these games no matter what, because, I don't like the Blizzard client as much as Steam. I think that a lot of people really do like Steam because it's been like their comfort zone for PC gaming for like ever. And then, Epic Games came in and everything like that. But competition is good. Competition is always good. And I think that, Microsoft sort of getting this piece of the pie for now is okay. But like I said, we're gonna have to wait and see exactly how this plays out because, excuse me, Microsoft are very much open to playing the field and being open to, playing with the consumer and being like, hey, like we have Game Pass, we have all these things that are very friendly. And I think that Sony, on the other hand, are very much like, this is our shit. We're not giving it to anyone else kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Sony's always been a little more like this is our stuff, so don't touch it. Even though they have been getting a bit better with, putting things on PC, which is nice. But yeah, this generation has just been kind of weird just because like a lot of people are, I guess, kind of moving away from strict like exclusivity and like trying to put it on other platforms because obviously it makes more money. And we're seeing a lot more time exclusives now instead of just being full exclusive. So I wonder if that's a trend that's just going to stay on forever. Nintendo just does its own thing. Nintendo will always be on Nintendo. It's that they ain't ever going to like the moment I see Zelda on PC, that's going to be the day the earth dies because that would never happen. So it's just going to be interesting to see how Microsoft moves forward from this and how they're gonna, I guess, like profit from this because they obviously want some exclusives. So I guess we'll see. Again, it'll be a weird day when like Crash or Spyro, if they ever do another one, it's like, oh, there's only for Xbox. That'll be a little weird. But I guess we'll see. That's probably like a low priority.
But will I buy an Xbox for it?
That's true. I mean, I might. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Phil Spencer was like, "Hey, we want to bring back legacy IPs, and we could, we could do more with these like mascot platformers." So, I'm just saying. So, but yeah. And in terms of more Microsoft news, unless you have more to say about that.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. So Xbox Live Gold, that a really old system where you pay for online and stuff, strictly for online. And I think you got some free games, but that was about it. Well, that's ending, and Game Pass Core is going to be replacing it. So this basically works the same way, where you buy it because you need it for online, because they still do that. So yeah, you buy it for online, but you get some cool games here. You get a whole bunch of games here, like the ones that seem cool.
Among Us.
You get Among Us. Yeah. But you get Doom Eternal, which is great. Fallout 4 if you want like a big Bethesda game, Gears 5, a bunch of Halo stuff. You get Psychonauts 2, which is great. Ori Will of the Wisp, which is also great. You got a lot of good stuff here. I think these are a lot of great games to just have for this core subscription. I don't think they'll ever add to it. I don't think.
It says Xbox will add titles to the core catalog 2 to 3 times a year. So
that's cool. So I guess you could look forward to having these core games always be there. I think that's a really cool thing to do. So now when you buy Xbox Live, you have a bunch of games that you could play. And I think this is great for anyone that's sort of like jumping into Xbox and you haven't played any of these games before. Obviously, I think like things like Among Us is like everyone fucking played that game at this point. So that's whatever. And so it's like $5. So like who cares? But I think a lot of these other games are going to be cool for people that really want to just jump in on Xbox. You buy your Xbox Live thing, but you also get these nice core games to play as well. And if you want to upgrade your battle pass for all the other cool games, you could do that as well. So I think this is a good move by Microsoft.
Yeah, I think that some people are going to be sad because we're seeing the Xbox Live title just disappear, which, it is what it is. I think that me and you have a lot of nostalgia for Xbox Live because we were there for when it was
360.
360, and that was like a big thing where it was like, oh, you have to pay for online too. So I had to pay for this $100 fucking Wi-Fi adapter and shit like that. Yep. And I was just like, this is a lot to play online. But hey, you know what? Playing games with your friends is always fun, and I think that back in the day when we were growing up, getting a gaming PC wasn't necessarily like a thing yet. So I think that, them transferring it to Xbox Game Pass Core, it just fits with their branding. You don't have to sort of explain to people what Xbox Live is compared to Xbox Game Pass and everything like that. So, it's definitely like a branding thing. And I think them including this list of games as of right now, it's not that bad. I think that you definitely have a nice variety of games to really pick and choose from. And also, if you're just getting into gaming, I think that this is like a great way to do it. If you're doing it on a budget, you can get like the Xbox Series S, and then you could get the Xbox Game Pass Core, and then you get all of these free games. Obviously, the Series X isn't going to have as much storage, so you're probably going to have to pick one game at a time and then download it and everything like that. But them adding games to this catalog 2 to 3 times a year, I think that will be pretty cool to go and see exactly what games they pick from their catalog to sort of add to this. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of first party sort of Xbox games, but I think that, overall, even though, Xbox doesn't have a lot of, quote unquote exclusives, I think that the games that they do have under their studios that they're able to put on services like this are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like, if you're like a caveman and never like played any video games in your life, I do think Xbox is one of the best platforms to get, just because you buy the box, and then if you just subscribe to this thing, you have like hundreds of games to play. Even just with the core, you have like, all these great games here. Like, and like you said, it's a great variety of them too. Like, it's not just like AAA stuff. They have some indie stuff, they have some RPGs, first person shooters, platformers, it's a great mix of stuff. So, I think that's really good to see. Like, they didn't just focus on like, okay, we just got to show them the AAA stuff and that's it. Like, no, they put in a great variety of stuff as well. And like you said, I think the branding just makes way more sense, because even I was confused. Like, what the fuck is like, all right, so yeah, Xbox Live, then you have Game Pass, then you have like Game Pass Premium or something. Like, I don't really understand what the differences were. So I'm happy to just kind of branded everything as just Game Pass now, because I think Xbox Live is just kind of an outdated term at this point. So again, sad to see it go, because I mean, it's been around since the original Xbox too, the Xbox Live and stuff. So kind of sad to see it go, but things have to change, and Game Pass is just a really good system, and I'm happy, Mike. I'm just keep going with it, because it's definitely the best thing about their console. So yeah.
All right, so moving on from there, Sega of America has unionized. So I believe that this is like the first big game studio to really unionize as, a collective. So I think that is pretty cool, just for like the workers and the employees there. This will definitely make it a lot more attractive for people to, work at Sega or even stay on, because, people are still fighting for those rights, unions and shit like that. It's going on with Hollywood right now with the writer's strike and also the actor's strike. So, seeing this company in particular, especially Sega, Sega is, they used to be part of, I guess, like the big three back in the day, way back in the day. So, to see them obviously still around and have this sort of be like the big first studio to really unionize is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, unions are always good. Like, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Unions are really good, especially where like I work. I know I wouldn't be getting a lot of benefits I get, plus like pay increases and all that without the union. Like, unions are very good to have. Your employer could just walk over you out anything like that. And gaming is in desperate need of that. Basically everywhere is in desperate need of that. But been hearing so many things about gaming and how so many people just feel so hopeless in that industry. It's kind of what made me not want to like work on video games, because I'm like, okay, this sounds awful. I don't want to have these working conditions. Yeah. So I'm really happy that hopefully we see more and more of these studios, sort of like unionize and get the pay to deserve, get whatever they need, like benefits and all that, because a lot of these companies don't even offer like any benefits at all either. So this is always a good thing. Like, yes, they do take a bit of money from your paycheck, but they make your life so much easier and so much better. So yes, unionize, do it everywhere. It's great. Please unionize. You got to treat workers like actual human beings.
Yep.
So yeah,
they can't just work 20 hours a day every day and not be tired from it. So
yeah, because then we end up getting games that feel maybe rushed, or maybe they aren't being made with a lot of passion and stuff. And that's because a lot of these people pay these people to work for like 20-some hours a day. Like, they sleep in the office. Like, it's awful. So yeah, definitely always go for better working conditions. Maybe we'll get games that even feel better. Who knows? But it's always best to think of the people that actually make these things, and remember that they're not just robots making it. So yeah. Well, speaking of Sega, Yuji Naka is officially serving prison time. So yeah, I think he's serving 2 years? I think it was like 2 years.
So he's serving 2.5 years and is suspended for 4 years. And I think that just means parole within Japan or something like that. So I covered this on Fandom Wire for their website. But yeah, pretty much just break down.
Fine 2 million yen. Oh, it's only 14K.
So to just pretty much break down the story, he did some insider trading where he was working at Square Enix and he knew about some games that were coming out that Square was working on with these developers. And then he bought a lot of stock within those development teams, and he did it twice. So they didn't catch on when he initially did it, but I think the moment they caught him on the first time, they were like, okay, what the fuck? Why is he buying 10,000 shares of Aiming Inc? And then it was like, oh, he did it again. Instead of 10,000, he bought 120,000. And it's like, okay, bro, like, what the fuck are you doing? Obviously, Yuji Naka is not exactly the best person on the planet. He did create Sonic the Hedgehog and Nights into Dreams, but he has been doing some shady stuff as of late. The last thing that he did was Balan Wonderland, and people were on his side for a bit because of what happened with him at Square Enix. But it seems like there is a good reason why he was let go.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, I think he should have been in jail for releasing that game. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, of all the things we hear about this guy, I feel like, I won't say deserved, but like he definitely has made a lot of bad choices, and now he's here. Obviously, Square did screw him over with Balan. Like, it probably would have ended up a bit better, but I still feel like his idea of having a one-button platformer is kind of stupid in general, and like that game was just way too simplistic for what it was, and just not very good. And of course, I'm just like, doing insider trading. Just like, I guess he really needed that money because I guess he was not doing well. But, it's always crazy to hear Japanese people go to jail because it's like kind of a rare thing, like unless you're like there forever. So it doesn't really happen. So, I guess we'll see what happens when he comes out. He's probably definitely going to retire from everything. Like, we probably won't hear about him after this, but, maybe he can make a comeback. I guess we'll see.
Like, within the gaming industry, I feel like if you make one misstep, you're kind of just screwed. It's sort of like with Keiji Inafune with Mighty Number 9.
Oh, yeah, he's gone. Yeah, that man is gone.
Yeah, he tried to milk that shit with the Mega Man Legends spiritual successor, and then that didn't pan out. Yeah. So, and then Mighty Number 9 came out, and that shit was great, but
shit. Yep.
It is what it is. Moving on from there, we got the Gex Trilogy announced. This was a huge surprise that happened during Limited Run Games' I guess like direct thing. It's called LRG3. So they were just revealing just like a bunch of games, and Gex Trilogy is one of the games that really stood out to us. I think that they are also bringing a couple of other titles with their new Carbon engine, which is pretty much a engine of them, I guess, like remaking or retooling games for modern consoles. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Obviously, they would fucking know better than us. And just reading about it on their website only does so much. But yeah, I mean, just like having the Gex games coming to modern consoles, I think that is just pretty cool overall, because Gex, I feel like, is a 90s platformer that really gets forgotten about because, it's stuck on those, it's literally stuck on that hardware. So it's good to see that, Crystal Dynamics is sort of allowing them to sort of port these games onto modern consoles and sort of have it immortalized on that. So, I have never played Gex. I've only played the first one for a little bit, and it was a fine platformer. I know people have really huge nostalgia for them just because of Gex 2 and 3 in particular. Those were on the PlayStation 1 and the N64. So
yeah, it's tail time, but no, I also never played Gex. I just know about it because it's like a meme. I mean, it's really cool that it like I don't know how far they're gonna be remaking them. Like, I don't know if it's just gonna be more of like a remaster, or if it's gonna be like a insane trilogy type deal where it's like all pretty and stuff. But these games are kind of just always like, like I said, they're kind of memey. I know people really like Gex 2. Like, Gex 2 is like unironically like a good game, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'm always down for more 3D platformers and stuff. And if they can make the controls better and like the camera, I think the camera was kind of like not great in these games because all 3D platformers during that generation weren't like amazing with that stuff. Then yeah, that's always great. I'm always happy to see more of these come back. Like, I would love to see like Banjo come back. That'd be kind of cool as well. But I don't think 3D platformers are in the same slump they were in like the last few years. Like, they've been doing pretty good. So getting a Gex like sort of like Trilogy remake is really cool. And yeah, it seems like a lot of the other things they like limited run gaming has been doing is kind of cool. Like they also did that Shantae thing where they're re-releasing, or I guess like finishing a Shantae game that was supposed to come out for GBA, but it's coming out now. So that's really cool because you know, seeing stuff like that when a company like makes a game and then like just don't finish it because something happened and then they go back and do it. That's really cool. It's like Star Fox 2, right? When they re-released that was really neat to see. So yeah, they're doing some good stuff. I know, you know, people have issues with limited run games and they're not perfect, but you know, if they're helping developers do these cool things, then I'm always down with that. So yeah, I guess we'll see how this does and if it's even good.
Yeah, I think that limited run games, you know, they obviously make a lot of money for these limited pre-orders and everything like that. You know, before it was actually like a limited run where people would have to, you know, go on the website at that time and then, you know, try to race to go and get these games and whatnot. But I believe now it's just like all pre-orders for like a certain amount of time. So it gives everyone a chance to get the game. I think that pretty much almost everyone participated within the Scott Pilgrim release that they did, which was all pre-orders. But, you know, it obviously just takes longer for them to get the product. But anyways, you know, limited run games, you know, they are doing some pretty cool stuff, especially with the Shantae stuff. I think that is like a really like synonymous thing with them is like the Shantae games that, you know, they always, you know, make those physical and they always do some really, really cool stuff with that franchise. You know, I still have to play those games myself, but, you know, it's just, you know, I'm a goddamn game collector. So I kind of want to get those physically, but they're so expensive. So I might just, you know, bite the bullet and just get them digitally. And hopefully limited run games will do a 10th re-release of all of these games as like one collection.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool if they did that. All right, so we got an update with the Dolphin story. So if you didn't know, Dolphin was coming to Steam, but then it got pulled from Steam because, you know, Nintendo was like, no. But this basically cleared the air on like everything that was going on. So last time I said that Dolphin had like Wii keys like within the software itself. But apparently after they talked to a legal team, apparently that is fine. Like they can't be taken to court for that. So that was sort of the big thing that a lot of people were actually worried about. But yeah, they can't actually be taken to court for that. Nintendo also did not send a DMCA to Valve or Dolphin. They just kind of asked them to not do it, like just don't release it. And I guess that's basically the same as a DMCA. I guess Nintendo was being nice in their weird way because they didn't immediately go for legal action. They were just like, hey, can you just like not do this? So yeah, and the Dolphin people were like, okay, we won't put it on Steam. I still think it was dumb for them to even like try to do it on Steam. Like,
yeah,
you know, you got a great emulator, just leave it be. Like no need to make a whole scene about it. But apparently they do still want to keep improving Dolphin. You know, they want to add like a big picture mode to their thing. So that's cool. But you know, obviously Steam would have made that a lot easier, but you know, they gotta do it themselves now. But yeah, I you know, like I said before, I still think Dolphin, because they should have just kept it on its own thing. I think there's no real reason to put it on Steam because I feel like I was just asking for Nintendo to notice you. You know, I'm surprised Dolphin is even still up after all these years and they've been able to improve it so much because you know, Nintendo's always kind of put a blind eye to Dolphin, which is nice. But yeah, putting on Steam in a bigger platform, they probably saw that as a no, and they just like, nah, we ain't gonna put that. But again, I'm happy Nintendo at least didn't like immediately go for legal action, so that's nice of them. But you know, like we said before, Nintendo's always been really annoying when it comes to game preservation and stuff. And you know, I don't think emulation is like stealing anything. Like it's not what they said. It was like, oh, stifling creativity or some bullshit like that. Like that's so dumb. Like that. What are you talking about? Like people just want to play these older Nintendo games because they're still good. And you know, a lot of the time Nintendo just does not offer these games in any platform anymore. So if Nintendo could provide that, like Pikmin, you know, like I'm happy I was able to buy Pikmin or Metroid Prime Remastered. I was really happy to pay for that because they're good games. But if you're not going to release them and someone wants to play them, then they're going to emulate it. It's pretty easy. So, yeah.
You know, I definitely saw someone on Twitter earlier that was like, you could play Pikmin 4 earlier. You just have to download like this emulator and shit. And I was just like, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Okay, so that's stealing. Yeah, so like when it comes to like, I'm okay with emulation if we're like at least 2 generations behind. Even last gen feels a little weird to like emulate stuff. Unless you can't play it. Like Wii U stuff is like, I know that's like harder to do. But if you're like emulating like PS4, Xbox One games, like you could play them on those consoles. Like I feel like if there's no way to play it, then definitely emulate it. Like no no sweat off there. Like just do it. But if you could play it legally, I've always kind of offered like, yeah, you should probably just buy it.
Yeah, but just, I guess going back to the topic of Dolphin and not just some bullshit I saw on Twitter, Dolphin Emulator, them coming to Steam, I think that was like such a small thing that was going to happen, and for them to even try to do it was, pretty ballsy. But I'm glad that they were able to, make this blog post to like clear the air and sort of provide like a lot of legal documents or sort of like legal quotes that they got from the emails and other things like that, So yeah, I'm just glad that they, were like, hey guys, it's okay that we have Wii Keys, because I think that they also were like, yo, what the fuck, like, are we gonna die? So I'm glad that they went to like the actual like legal ramifications and like talk to a lawyer to be like, okay, like, are we in trouble, kind of thing. So and also shout out to Nintendo for not actually like destroying this company and like deleting Dolphin off the internet to like a certain extent, because they didn't send a DMCA. They kind of just like asked them nicely to be like, hey, can you just tell them to do it? And then Valve was like, all right, we're just going to forward this email, and then just like all hands off deck kind of thing. So, yeah, obviously there was like a lot of confusion that was going on, because they did say that they wrote their initial statement sort of fairly frantically or something like that. So, at least they're able to sort of view their sort of past announcement as like a wrong thing that they did. We're like, okay, right. Yeah, like this wasn't the best thing, because, a lot of people started speculating and there was a lot of mumbo jumbo going around. But yeah, emulation, like I said, I'm sort of in the same camp as Damian. I won't emulate stuff personally. I will always try to, get that physical copy as much as possible. But, if you want to, save yourself some money and you want to play like a really, really rare GameCube game, like the Fire Emblem game on there, I think that is like a very clear example of like that game has not been re-released on anything else, but that game goes for like over $100 on eBay. If you want to emulate that and you want to play it for yourself before you, even spend that kind of cash at like a convention or like on eBay or whatever, then go for it. I think that is completely fine. But Nintendo is not making it easy for people to play their older games, especially with the virtual console just completely gone now. So
yeah, again, I think you have no options. I think emulation is always good. And even if you want to, like, I'm not really that for this, but if you want to buy a current game like Zelda and like, I'm going to play on an emulator because it will run better, but you own it, I guess that's fine. It still feels weird though. Yeah, that's kind of like a thin ice on there. But I don't know. I think if you could buy it on a console that you could buy off the shelf, I think you should just buy it on that console. And then emulation is great for like, games that they're not even making money off of anymore. Like what the fuck? Like play Pokemon White too. Like who cares? Like emulate that. And I'm not gonna pay like $400 for like a Pokemon game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that shit is ridiculous. But moving on from there, we got some Marvel stuff here. So first, they surprisingly announced a new Black Panther game is coming from Cliffhanger Games. It is a AAA studio from EA based in Seattle. It is described as a third-person single-player action-adventure game. So yeah, I mean, like, this is pretty big. Marvel has been doing very, very well with their games lately, especially with the Insomniac stuff. So they're like, hey, why don't we capitalize on the success of the MCU and like the popularization of these characters and like make games about them? So yeah, hopefully that this ends up being good, just because, with everything that happened with Square Enix and the Avengers game, like that did not pan out well for them whatsoever. No. But, this is Black Panther we're talking about, so hopefully this ends up being good. It is described as a third-person single-player game, and I think that is like a very good step forward, like a good first step kind of thing. And also, just like Black Panther as a character, not just Miles Morales Spider-Man, but also just like, Black Panther is also the other black superhero that people really associate with. So, if this game ends up being dog shit, there's going to be a lot of conversations around that as well.
Yeah, I also think like Black Panther is just cool. Like I think he has a lot of cool abilities and stuff, so that would be fun to play through. Yeah, like you said, Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, both very good recent Marvel games. Obviously, we had some smaller ones. Like, I'm pretty sure there's some Lego game somewhere in there, or Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 and stuff, which was like decent from what I've heard. So yeah, but out of the two like big AAA things, like being Guardians and Spider-Man, I think they were both fantastic. So hopefully, I have no doubt Wolverine's gonna be good from Insomniac because it's Insomniac. But when it comes to this game, I think they're making a Captain America game as well that I think also has Black Panther in it. I forgot. that. Yeah, so that game is also coming out. I know it's not Marvel, but that Wonder Woman game is also a thing that's happening. There's a lot of really big AAA superhero games that are on the way, and hopefully they're good, because our benchmark for good superhero games is pretty high. We got the Batman Arkham Trilogy and Spider-Man, and those two are very good. So hopefully these games could be in that same level, if not just a little bit below that. Like Guardians is really good as well, but I'd say I think if they could reach that level, I'll be happy.
Yeah,
you just gotta be faithful to the source material. You gotta just like have fun combat as well, and I think you're good. I don't think it's like that hard to make a good superhero game. You just gotta have like big production value. So yeah.
And whatever story that they decide to adapt it is somewhat faithful to the source material. Obviously, you can like change things around.
Yeah, you can change it a bit, yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's not too crazy. I think that what Insomniac Games have done with the Spider-Man stuff, I think that what they've changed so far has been very, very good and very tasteful. Also Marvel's Midnight Suns was another game that came out recently.
I don't think it did well sales wise, but it did pretty well review wise. I do want to play it. Because it looks fun. So that one did well. It did pretty good as well. So we have it pretty good with superhero games. Maybe the movies have been a little. People haven't been too into like the movies or shows,
or even
right
the
now,
shows.
Or the shows. But the video games have been pretty good lately, which is nice. So yeah. Well, speaking of movies, we got the Deadpool and Wolverine. We got a sneak peek at their costumes. This was shown a little bit ago, and yeah, they look pretty authentic to like what they look like in the comics. Like Deadpool basically like he doesn't have that much like body armor or anything. Like it looks pretty like how he looks in the comics and stuff. And Wolverine is like full on yellow and like blue and shit. Like I wonder if he's gonna have the mask in this. Like that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, it looks like they're going for really comic accurate costumes. And I'm always a fan of that. I like it when they modernize the costumes a bit, but it's always nice to see them in their like straight out of the comic like suit. Like I think it looks pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing Hugh Jackman within this classic Wolverine suit is awesome, just because he's been playing this character for well over a decade and he never, donned that suit whatsoever.
Yeah, the good old yellow suit, yeah.
So, yeah, I am a fan of these costumes. It is good to note that this image came out along with a bunch of other movie trailers and whatnot. Happened right before the actor strike and everything like that, so maybe timing was just there or whatever, but I'm looking forward to this movie, especially because of like the other like leaked photo sets that they're actually shooting on location, which I think is pretty cool. Most of the time with these Marvel movies they're fucking shot in in like a room and whatnot, so the fact that we do have like leaks is pretty cool, but at the same time we might know a little too much. If you want to look it up, you can look it up, but I have a feeling that I know what story that they're adapting. I haven't read it, but I know what story that they're adapting. I'm not going to mention it just in case if it's like a spoiler for some people, but if you just look up Deadpool 3 leaks, you'll see it. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this movie just because of what they're doing and sort of not just the costumes, but just the story overall.
I'm happy they like stopped production finally. Like they were like going for a while. I'm like, bro, the writer strike is like in full force, and they finally stopped like production. I'm like, all right, good. I want the movie to be good, Like I'm excited for it. I don't want it to come out shit, So
yeah, and obviously like these strikes are very important to participate in. So pretty much every single studio is pretty much losing money daily. But this is what's got to be done. If all of this shit's gonna get delayed another year or so, and so be it.
Yep.
Moving on from there, we got Iman Vellani. I fucking butchered that shit so hard.
Sorry.
Anyways, Miss Marvel within the MCU, she's actually going to be co-writing the new Miss Marvel comic book series. So, yeah, I think that is like a pretty huge thing. I don't think we've ever had like a actor that plays their character come on and do like a co-write for like any of the books like whatsoever. So yeah, that's pretty insane. If you guys don't know who she is, pretty much she's been a fan of the MCU before she even joined the MCU. So she is pretty much like Kamala Khan IRL. So to see her actually also write for this book is pretty cool as well. Hopefully, because they're like changing some stuff about her, she's actually going to be a mutant to sort of, I guess, like coincide with what they're doing within the MCU, which some people have a problem with because they're like,
she was an Inhuman or something. Was that what she was supposed to be?
She wasn't a mutant. She was like an Inhuman. She wasn't exactly within that, like label or whatever. But, there's like a lot going on here that people are very much skeptical of what this adaptation of Kamala Khan is going to be, especially because they sort of just like killed her off randomly to sort of bring in this new mutant angle. So, there's definitely a lot of drama going on within this series as a whole. But I think that for Vellani. I think that this is pretty cool for her. You know, she said that this is way scarier than joining the MCU. So, you know, that is definitely understandable because you are writing a whole new canon for your character that can be adapted to your series as well. So, yeah, you know, I'm excited to see how well this book does. I'm not going to get it every month. I think I'm going to wait for like the trade paperback to come out and then I'll read it for myself. But I'm sure I'm going to see, you know, panels of it and whatnot that, you know, hopefully isn't as bad as people are expecting it to be.
So, okay, there's kind of spoilers for the comics because I just saw all over Twitter and stuff. But she's dead in, like, the main canon now, in, like, some random Spider-Man one, right? Like, she's just dead.
Something like that.
Yeah, like, I don't know what was going on, but I know she died. So I don't know if this is, like, a whole new series, like, unconnected to that. Probably that's probably what it is. But comics are weird.
Yes, comic books are weird.
But no, that's good. Yeah, she seems very knowledgeable on like just the MCU and stuff, or I guess just Marvel in general. And you know, I loved her as Miss Marvel in the show and stuff, and I'm excited to see her in the new movie. So and it seems like she understands her character pretty well. So, but yeah, I get the hesitancy of being like, yeah, this is gonna be like scary because you know. Comic nerds are pretty ruthless and stuff, and you know, like, you ruined the character forever and all that. You know, but I feel like they say that about literally any new person that writes for anything. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I have faith, and with the whole mutant angle, it's just like whatever. Like I was reading like Inhumans and mutants, like they're kind of the same anyways. Like who cares? Like I feel like keeping everything as just mutants makes things like less complicated to begin with. But yeah, I wonder. I guess she's just gonna have her regular powers in this. I don't know if she's gonna have her weird light powers like she has in the MCU. Probably not. Yeah. She's gonna stay with the stretchy things, so that's good. But yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm happy for her. I'm happy that she's really enjoying her role in the MCU because I know a lot of actors like don't. They're just like get me out of here. So yeah. All right, so last of the Marvel stuff. You know, this was in a Comic-Con panel, right? There's the San Diego Comic-Con.
This is right before. So the Comic-Con panel is today, but they just dropped this like Entertainment Weekly exclusive just because, you know, they dropped an image of Venom, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'll let you take it.
They basically talked that Venom in the Spider-Man 2, you know, new game coming out, is going to be voiced by Tony Todd, who voiced Candyman, that horror movie. So they made a new one of this, right?
Yeah, so he played Candyman within 1992, something like that, and then they made a new one, sort of like a soft reboot kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure, but you know, he was in that as well as Candyman.
So yeah, that's really cool. Basically, this article just goes into being like, yeah, he's like, I forget who said it. Like they heard him growl and just like, yo, that's him. That's my guy right there. And then apparently he sent an audition tape anyway to be Venom, so that's kind of cool. You know, it's good to see like these voice actors or like actors in general just come in to like do, you know, video games and stuff, right? Because, you know, video games are, you know, I know like Sony stuff always kind of brings in a bit more high profile people, I guess. But like it's always it's still weird to always see like when an actor or whatever has like interest in doing stuff like this because it's like, oh, we're just a bunch of nerds just doing this thing. But that's always cool. And I think he will fit Venom pretty well. You know, it's going to be, you know, whenever there's like a new voice for any of these legacy characters, like, you know, Spider-Man or Miles or whatever, you know, it's always like a thing to get used to. But I think it's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just like this interview as a whole, I think is pretty good. You know, it pretty much goes into like more behind the scenes stuff. So like, if you're really excited for Marvel Spider-Man 2, you should definitely check this article out. But pretty much, you know, like Damian said, you know, they go into who Tony Todd is, how Brian Indahar, who is the God fucking damn it, I lost it in the article. He's pretty much one of the senior creative directors at Insomniac Games, and he was also there for the first Spider-Man game. And he was just like, all right, who the fuck are we gonna get for Venom? Because this is like a big ass role. So, you know, even he himself was scared, but the moment he heard Tony Todd, you know, and he's also been in another superhero thing, The Flash. He voiced Zoom, and you know, now that I think back to that season of The Flash, I'm like, yeah, that was Tony Todd voicing it. But yeah, you know, just seeing them sort of like talk about Tony Todd so freely and just sort of like be like, yeah, you know, like he is our Venom, and he really, you know, took on that role, you know, very seriously, and you know, he pretty much dove into that, you know, with everything he had. And, you know, them just talking about Venom, and obviously this new fucking image is pretty cool. Apparently this is in game, so that is like insane. Yeah, apparently. I mean, it does look like concept art to a certain extent. Yeah. But, you know, if it's in game shit. Yeah, it could also be photo mode. You know, they could have added some filters in there or whatever. But
I think Venom looks sick in this, by the way.
Yeah, you know, Venom's design is fucking dope, and I think people are very much anticipating that you're gonna be able to play as him, at least in one level.
Yeah,
hopefully.
the Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, I've been waiting since that game, dude.
Yes, definitely a callback. I think someone did a comparison of the Ultimate Spider-Man screenshot next to this image of Venom, and it's just like, yeah, no, this is like, I cannot wait to see what they do with Venom within this game, and hopefully we'll learn more about what they're doing with the game overall later today at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. Like, it'll be really cool if throughout the game, Peter, obviously you have your, the black suit, but maybe over time, or maybe you have some missions where he just turns into Venom or some shit. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. I'm very excited for it. Hopefully it, lives up to our expectations, and it'll be a good time. I try to keep my expectations like kind of lower, so I'm not like disappointed or anything. But
yeah,
I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely getting a lot more wacky and a lot more creative with this story this time around, because the first game was pretty safe overall. There's still like that Peter Parker Spider-Man dynamic where Peter Parker sucks, but it's because he's Spider-Man and he's trying to save everyone. But I think that with this game story, they're going to be able to be a lot more creative in what they can do.
Yep.
Moving on from there, we got Star Wars Ahsoka Disney Plus series trailer. So this is the first like full-length trailer that we have for the series, and yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. Apparently, I believe the original Ahsoka voice actor was like, "You guys should probably rewatch Clone Wars and Rebels to like fully understand what the fuck's going on."
I don't know what the fuck is happening.
But also, I think that one of the directors or something like that working on the show is like, "You don't have to do that, please don't do that." But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I haven't watched Rebels just because I heard it was like pretty bad, all things considered. But I pretty much know everything of what happened within the Clone Wars for Ahsoka's character, and I think a lot of people were introduced or reintroduced to her within The Mandalorian, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I do not know any of the fucking Rebel characters. I'm looking at them within this live action show. I'm just like, I don't know who you are. I'm sorry. I've heard about them, but I don't know exactly what their relationship is with Ahsoka. So hopefully they'll be able to explain that fairly well within the show, because I think that this is going to be a very interesting Disney Plus Star Wars show, just because there's so much lore and background knowledge that a lot of Star Wars fans don't know about, so.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to watch this like when it comes out, because like, I don't know what's happening. I know Ahsoka, obviously, like, but I haven't watched Clone Wars. Like, I've been putting it off for so long. I really need to do this already. So I definitely want to at least watch Clone Wars before I watch this, but I'm not too sure. And like Rebels, I guess, for that more extra, like, knowing like who these characters are and stuff. So
yeah,
I feel like it'll just hit harder.
Knowing who like Sabine is and all this other shit.
Yeah, because it's kind of like jumping into like a last thing and being like, it's a jumping to Endgame, right? And being like, well, I don't understand anything, because you dumbass, you don't watch the other things. And I know that, and they always say this, oh, you could watch this while watching the others, and I know that's bullshit. Like, I played Xenoblade 3, and they're like, oh, you don't need to play Xenoblade 1 or 2, and then that's horseshit, because you really should play those games to get a bigger impact for the like this thing. So but it looks good, like at least from the trailer. I think I think it looks really cool. It seems like a lot of cameos or things they're gonna wrap up with Ahsoka's character. Maybe, I don't know if they are gonna wrap anything up, but it seems like they are bringing all the things together from Clone Wars and Rebels. That seems really satisfying to fans of those two shows. And yeah, I really need to get on watching Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I believe apparently it's like a sequel to Rebels as well, from like what I saw from like interview headlines and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it just makes me think like, should have they just made this like animated? Just like on.
Yeah, they probably should have.
Just like spending less money, even getting like the original voice cast back. No shade to like Rosario Dawson, who's playing Ahsoka. I think that she does a good job just like as an actor, like overall. But I think, maybe she was a little bit miscast, because like, when I saw her in Mandalorian, I was like, oh, okay, like that's pretty cool, all things considered. But having like a whole show surrounded around this version of Ahsoka, I wonder how it's going to play out and how it's going to translate from animation to live action and things like that. So, hopefully it's good. I'm not preying on the show's downfall, but there's like a lot happening here where it's like, there's two other shows you really need to watch along with the Mandalorian stuff and even like the Book of Boba Fett. So, there's a lot of lore going into this. And I feel like, the huge Star Wars nerds will know exactly what the fuck is happening. And they're probably rewatching all of those shows right now to get caught up before August 23rd. So, yeah. And it is going to premiere with 2 episodes, so they're doing that thing once again. I believe they did it with goddamn Kenobi and also... what was that other show?
Andor?
Andor. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know,
I guess it's harder to say because like I know they're making a live action to bridge the gap, so they can use these characters in like live action stuff, which is cool. But it also kind of makes a weird disconnect where it's like you have to watch the animated stuff to really understand it, and maybe some people maybe older than us are like, I don't want to watch no fucking cartoons. Like I just want to watch whatever the new Star Wars thing is. But you're gonna be very confused. Like it's not like Andor where it's like you really have to only watch Rogue One to like really get it. Even then, it's like a prequel, right? Yeah, Andor is like a prequel to Rogue One, so it doesn't really matter. And then you have Kenobi, but it's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like you kind of already know his deal. This is a lot more complicated and there's a lot more things going on. And I feel like not making it animated kind of sort of makes it so like I think a lot more people are going to be confused is what I'm going to say. Like I think there's going to be a lot of people that just jump into this not knowing anything besides Ahsoka was Anakin's apprentice. I know that, and then that's it. And then they're going to be like, who the fuck is any of these people? So I definitely think it's like the idea of required reading before you watch it. And that's even I don't even know if it's going to be good or not. You know, so because Kenobi was kind of mid. You know what I mean? So. I guess we'll see how this. But Andor was great, so I guess we'll see how this turns out. Regardless, I really need to watch Clone Wars. I've been meaning to do that forever, so this reminded me to do that.
In conclusion, David needs to watch Clone Wars. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it with my girlfriend because she fucking loves Star Wars. I don't think she watched all of Clone Wars, but she knows Ahsoka enough. Yeah, exactly. Fake fan. But yeah.
All right, so next we have a Blue Beetle. This is the last trailer, and I think this is a really good look at the movie. Like, it's pretty long. It's like a 3-minute trailer. But yeah, basically what I said about, when I first saw it, I think it looks good. I mean, it's very Marvel looking. Like, it's very Marvel inspired. A lot of jokes. It's colorful. Like, it looks like it's not gonna take itself too seriously. And that's what I liked about Shazam a lot. I didn't watch the second one. No one watched the second one, but you did, right? I don't know.
I did not.
Okay, so yeah, no one watched Shazam 2, so I don't know. But Shazam 1 was really cool because it was kind of like a Marvel thing. Like it just felt like lighthearted superhero stuff, doing stuff. And I know that's not what people come to the DC for a lot of the time. Like they want more seriousness and whatever. But I don't know. I feel like it just fit the theme really well. And Blue Beetle looks like it's gonna be doing the same thing. Like the action looks fun. I think the whole family dynamic looks kind of cool. I think the suit looks cool. I know nothing about Blue Beetle, so
most people don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it looks pretty entertaining. It looks like a pretty standard first Marvel hero debut thing. So, I mean, it got me interested. It got me more interested in like Flash or whatever. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first movie within the new James Gunn DCU, even though it wasn't, I don't think it was originally part of it, but, they're sort of just like attaching. I don't think it was,
I think it wasn't originally part of it,
attaching it or whatever, so they're just sort of going with the flow with it, and I think that this movie will be a lot of fun, all things considered. Hopefully it will be able to introduce the Blue Beetle character faithfully, but at the same time introduce it to, normie audiences like us and sort of get us to fall in love with this character, and hopefully we'll see more of him later. But yeah, apparently there were some like cameos or whatever that some people were like speculating about. I'm not going to talk about that. But,
stop with the cameo.
Yeah, some people are kind of sick of that, and I guess that was like a big discussion of topic when James Gunn was like announcing, or it was announced that like all of these other actors are going to be in Superman Legacy and they're going to be like superheroes or whatever. And I think that is fine. I think that James Gunn, really emphasized that, hey, like this is still like a Superman movie. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. So, but yeah, just going back to Blue Beetle, it definitely does look like a lot of fun. Probably like the typical like MCU sort of storyline, because it looks like the fucking villain is like just like an evil version of him. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm just like, okay, well, hopefully it's fun. I think that's all I can really ask for this movie. But, if it's also good, then it's also good, just like as like a piece of cinema, if you will.
All right, I think that's a little high for me, but I guess we'll see. It's not like I'm a DC hater or anything. Like, there's definitely like movies I like. Like I really like the Wonder Woman 1, Shazam, obviously Batman and stuff. And there seems to be more of that fun angle of DC. So definitely take that out of all the Snyder stuff. Like, sorry, Snyder fans. I don't think those movies are very good. So yeah, it looks good.
No comment on that for me. Moving on from there, we got the last bit of news here, which is Lazarus is a new Adult Swim anime from the director of Cowboy Bebop. So yeah, this is like a pretty big thing, just because I'm not sure if there has been anything new from that director in particular, but
I don't think all I know is it was Cowboy Bebop.
But this is a brand new anime series ordered by Adult Swim themselves, and there's going to be some pretty cool things surrounding it. Apparently, Studio Mappa is going to be making it, animating it.
Oh my gosh,
which is fucking insane. Shout out to those animators. Hopefully, they are not killing themselves. There's going to be action sequences designed by Chad S. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. He's pretty much the director of the John Wick films, all 4 of them. So obviously he knows how to direct action. And once again, jazz and electronic music, which is very synonymous with Cowboy Bebop. So yeah, whatever this, I guess, like, quote unquote, spiritual successor to Cowboy Bebop is, I hope that it's good. It's going to be on Toonami, I presume, and all that other stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting to see that it's not like this is like ordered by a American like thing, right? Like it's like like they're like, we want this anime to happen, but it's still being obviously made in Japan and stuff like that. That's pretty interesting. My only hope is my only worry is like I hope it's not like too similar to like Cowboy Bebop. If they're like they want a lot of the same elements but like be its own thing. I think that's always hard for creators to do if they want to make like a spiritual successor. Like they end up always in the shadow of like their original thing. We're just talking about My Number 9, right? Like like he wants to make Mega Man, but then it's like obviously we'll never leave that shadow. And that comes with a lot of different stuff. So hopefully this is its own unique thing. If they have the director of the John Wick movies, hopefully it's like, maybe more brutal and more focused on action than Cowboy Bebop was. I've only watched like the first like 5 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, so I can't really talk about this that much. But I really need to finish that as well. Jesus. But yeah, hopefully it's just not too similar to that show, and it could be its own thing while still having like elements that remind you of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, spiritual success is always really hard to do. So I guess we'll see how it does.
And this director obviously did Cowboy Bebop, but on top of that, he did Samurai Champloo and a much more recent project, which is Carol and Tuesday. So he was like the chief director, according to Wikipedia. But according to this IGN article, the story is going to be high-octane action sequences. There's going to be sort of like a sci-fi element to it as well. It's going to be focused on a Nobel Prize-winning neuroscientist who developed a cure-all drug with a side effect that causes those that take it to die 3 years later. So,
that's an awful drug then.
Just that in and of itself sounds like a pretty cool premise. Whether they stick the landing or not is going to be a whole other story. Anime is very much about like how it looks, how it sounds, and how, audiences sort of feel about it as they're watching it, kind of thing, So, I'm excited to see how this sort of new project develops, especially since it is going to be on Adult Swim and, Toonami likely as well. So,
yeah, actual reason to watch Toonami. So there you go. Besides nostalgia.
Yeah, hopefully it's on a streaming platform because I know that, with the, what's it called? The Superman show, which we're about to talk about, it's
it might be on Max at that point.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully it ends up on Max so pretty much everyone can have a chance to watch it legally.
Yes, legally.
But yeah, that is it for the news. Now we're going to talk about some cartoon shows. So I went to visit Damian in Florida and we watched literally everything Sonic Prime. We watched from episode 2 of season 1 and then watched all of season 2 as well. So pretty much everything on Sonic Prime. So I guess I'll quickly talk about season 1, even though it kind of just meshes all together. I just have to think about before Shadow came into the story. But yeah, I mean, Sonic Prime is like an innocent sort of like Sonic cartoon show on Netflix. I think that it does a lot of interesting things sort of using the CG to its fullest extent. Like they aren't creating new characters. They're sort of just reusing like the Tails, Knuckles, and Rouge models over and over again to create new versions of those characters, which we're gonna have to treat them like different characters, which can be confusing for kids, I would imagine, and it's a little confusing for me as well because other than 9, I can't remember like what their names are other than that's New York City fucking Knuckles or whatever, like I can't remember exactly.
That's his name. Yeah.
What their other names are, if you will. My apologies.
Either, don't worry.
But yeah, I think that its concept of just like introducing different variants and different dimensional versions of these characters because of Sonic's mess up with the crystal or whatever, that was a pretty cool story. And then season 2, they introduced Shadow, which I think that is like a pretty big thing because, when the show was coming out, before it came out, there were these clips of Shadow and Sonic fighting and people were like, oh my God, Shadow's gonna be so fucking cool. And then he's not in most of the season, which is fucking disappointing. They're like, oh my God, he's like trapped in between like both dimensions because he used like chaos control, which the series does this thing a lot where they go back in the past and sort of retell events of what happened from a different character's perspective. And I think season 2 literally starts off with that, with like Shadow, like his perspective from the events before Sonic broke that crystal and pretty much caused all of these other dimensions to exist. So that trope can be a little annoying and a little tiresome, especially at that point. But, I understand why they're doing it, to sort of give you context and sort of what these characters are doing during those events. But yeah, I think overall season 2 was fairly good. I think it's on par with season 1 overall, and I think that the ending has some ramifications that will hopefully be explained within season 3, if there even is a season 3, because I know that this thing was only ordered for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was supposed to be a season 3, so when it ended like that, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, but I liked it. I think season 1 is a little more like disjointed, where it's like, you have the first few episodes which are like in like the Eggman land or whatever the fuck it's called, like not Eggman land. And he's like, okay, I'm pretty invested into this because like bad future and all that. And then he gets teleported around for the next like rest of the season to like the jungle place and then the pirate place, and they're fine, just introduces new characters and stuff. But I more want to see like what the hell was happening back at the main dimension, right? Like I want to see like the Chaos Council, whatever they're doing. So yeah, I thought season 1 was like, it was a fun time. Like I enjoyed the action and like the characters and stuff. Like I think Sonic's character, I know some people don't like this Sonic that much.
Yes.
But I don't know. I feel like he has to learn a lesson. That's kind of why he's like really egotistical and like kind of annoying. Because like by the end of it, he's gonna be like, hey, it was the friends I made along the way. That's kind of what they're leading up to. Like when I guess it's kind of like a pretty big mood shift from like Frontiers to this, because in Frontiers you have like a more veteran Sonic and he knows what he's doing and he's more serious and stuff. In this game, in this show, he's more like, he's more cocky and stuff. So like, I guess it makes sense for like the thing they're going for. So yeah, I like the Sonic in this one. It's just not what I guess we're used to now for Sonic acting. And then in the second season, I think it's a lot better just because it does focus a lot more on the actual plot this time. And, Shadow is great. I think this is, we haven't seen Shadow in a game in like forever, or like as a major role in anything since like 06, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, I think like his voice, I don't know who voices him, but his voice actor is great. Like a lot better than whoever the current game voice actor is for him. No offense to him, but I just think that this Shadow voice is definitely what I want from like a Shadow voice to sound like. And just his personality too. Like he's not like he's edgy still, but he's like, he's more like Vegeta, right? He's really like Vegeta. It's like, oh, you're an idiot, but I still want to save the world. So like, you just do your own thing. I'm gonna like handle this or whatever. And again, he's still not in it like a lot. Like he's in it in the beginning and in the end. A lot more than he was in season 1, which was basically none of it. But I still wish he was in more of the show because I like Shadow. He's cool. But yeah, and besides Shadow, like being my other favorite character, I really like 9 as well because he's having a whole ass character arc and he's like all this like edgy tales and shit. I'm really into like 9's character as well, and I want to see like how they sort of resolve that in the end of the show as well. But yeah, it was pretty decent. I do agree that there's a lot of action, but I wish it was like more like than just like one robot type.
Yeah, the same robot type.
Because I feel like it just kind of gets repetitive. Because I just feel like my eyes glazing over. Because it's just like, okay, like the fight looks cool, but I'm like, can we get like a different robot? And we kind of do towards the end, but I feel like we could have used a little more variety. Because they're like, oh, it's a bigger one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do get a cool thing that I won't spoil. That's kind of cool. And I think those fight scenes were pretty fun. But yeah, I just feel like we need some different robots at this point because Jesus, I'm tired of looking at the same robot model. But yeah, it's a good series. I like it. I think it's probably the best Sonic anime thing we got besides like I guess the OVA, because Sonic X is kind of like whatever as well. So, but yeah, it's a good time. I like it.
Sonic Boom is more like a
Sonic Boom is like a
cartoon.
Comedy. Yeah, there's some good quote. Like Knuckles is like unhinged in that show. So, Amy, he does this whole thing about equality or whatever. So yeah,
but yeah, Sonic Prime is definitely like a very entertaining show. I definitely see some people do complain about Sonic being fucking stupid, and it definitely does fit with the, I guess, idea of just like making sure that like the kids learn a lesson that you can't be a cocky asshole or whatever. You kind of have to learn from your lessons.
Rely on your friends.
Rely on the people around you. And, you can't just be like the center of attention all the time, kind of thing. And to that extent, I think that this Sonic is okay. Obviously, we should definitely have different versions of Sonic learning different lessons and sort of teaching kids and just like people in general of like what it means to, I guess, be human kind of thing. So yeah, and I think that with the whole like robot thing, you know, it's really the same thing of why they're making like different versions of like every single character, so they don't have to make new models or whatever. But even then, I think that they could change the color a little bit, you know, have have this like variant color, like a red one, you know, just like do more damage and be like harder to take down or whatever. I don't know. You know, it just seems like there's a lot of, you know, fight sequences and, you know, like cool stuff's happening. You know, I know that the Nux, he does a lot of cool stuff when he's fighting the robots, but even then, you know, it's for a very short, brief period of time. So, yeah, you know, I'm excited to see if this show does continue, exactly what's going to happen. You know, Nine is definitely a huge character within this series just because, you know, he acts very different from the Tales we know and love. And I think that, you know, Sonic is very much quickly learning of like what the fuck these like variants are. Like they aren't his versions, which is like weird, especially when like towards the end where he's like still not like getting it, like not fucking understanding that like all of these, you know, versions are different people. You know, they may look the same, but they're different, you know? So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sonic, you could kind of
I was like, yeah, Sonic's a fucking dumbass,
yeah, he's kind of a dummy, but yeah, it's good. I like it.
All right, so
yeah, I've also been watching My Adventures with Superman. So I've been hearing a lot of good things about this on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, I should just watch it at this point. Like, I already showed like the 2-episode premiere. I was like, okay, I'll watch it, and yeah, it's very good. You know, it goes through a very I don't know how to describe it. It feels very like they just start from the beginning and like just make sure Superman isn't like insanely overpowered from the beginning, which I like. You know, it's a very natural progression of his powers in this show where, you know, ever since he was a kid, he knew he could fly and stuff. But, you know, he doesn't, and he kind of keeps his super stuff like secret. Like, you know, he saves some people, like saves a cat or whatever, but he's mostly like keeping it to himself. You know, it's not until later in like the first episode where he like starts becoming actual Superman. And I think that's pretty cool. Like he's not like totally overpowered godlike man that I don't like too much. Like I'm happy that he's, you know, he feels like an actual human, you know?
Yeah.
So that's good.
Seeing him actually have like problems within the Daily Planet and sort of him, you know, just trying to be a good person and sort of listen to his boss. And then when he's like, Lois Lane, you fucking lied to us. Why are we here? You know, kind of thing. And then obviously like the plot develops and then he's like, okay, I have to like, you know, actually be Superman. And like the first episode that he's doing his Superman stuff, he doesn't even have his costume, you know, like all of this stuff that's happening with Superman, you know, everything that we're learning about him, he's also learning about himself. I think that this is like a fantastic like Superman show, even from us who like know pretty much jack shit about the character.
You know, it's like Zod.
You know, it's a great show to like get into, and because it is a cartoon, it's rated, you know, TV PG. You know, you pretty much show this to anyone. You know, like this is such a good like modern day superhero cartoon that, you know, I feel like anyone could really jump into this and really get a kick out of it because, you know, we are watching Superman progress within his career, and like you said, you know, he's not super overpowered. He's still learning like certain powers and abilities. I think within episode 3 he learns like the ice stuff, I think, or whatever.
No, he gets a laser eyes in the 3rd episode.
Yeah, that thing, you know, the fucking laser eyes.
There
was ice within the episode. That's what I thought. But anyways, you know, we are very much learning about not just himself, but also his cast of characters. You know, him and Lois Lane, you know, have this, you know, weird tension going on, obviously, that we all know that they're eventually going to end up together. But, you know, she's falling in love with Kent, and, you know, she's also falling in love with Superman, and she's trying to be like a good journalist and a good reporter, trying to get that interview with Superman and shit like that. So, yeah, you know, I think that this is like a very, very good show, you know, right now. And I cannot wait to continue watching it every single week. And we're going to obviously continue talking about it.
Yeah, I really like the sort of like, you know, I think when it comes to like Western cartoons, it's always like a thing where it's like, okay, is this going to be a show where it's like a weekly thing where we just kind of ignore everything? Or are we going to have like actual progression and things are going to happen like normally? And it seems to be a thing where it's like actually is progressing as a show, where it's like we have the villain, like the main villain's doing things in the background. Superman does fight like maybe a villain of the week thing, but he like maybe learns a new power or something happens. And I think that's good because, when it comes to other shows like something like Steven Universe, right? There's a lot of episodes where nothing fucking happens for a week, and it's like, okay, I really want to see the cool jump stuff now, and then it happens like way later. So hopefully the show has better pacing than some other Western cartoons, because it could be kind of annoying to watch them when they end up like that. But hopefully it has a good sense of progression stuff, because I'm really liking it. The animation is great as well, for like it's going for that anime, not anime sort of art style going on. It really reminds me of like early 2000s stuff like Teen Titans, or there was another one that I'm forgetting. Oh, Avatar, fucking Avatar. That they have like like that pseudo anime look to them, and I think it looks great. Like the action scenes look really good. I think the characters are great. Like especially like Superman and Lois Lane. Lois Lane was great in this. And yeah, I'm just excited to see like what they're gonna be, like what's the overarching plot's gonna be, like how Superman gets more of his powers. I just think it's really cool, and it could be like the spectacular Spider-Man of Superman, which is really cool. So definitely down to see more of it.
Even to like a certain extent, there's like Clark Kent has to figure out how to be Superman while he's with Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, and be like, okay, like how am I supposed to like get out of this? Oh my god, I have a stomachache, and then he runs off, and then he's Superman or whatever. So I've definitely am liking how the show is, not just because I'm obviously drawing similarities to a Spectacular Spider-Man, which I would love more of that, but that shit ain't happening. You know what? I'll settle for this shit with Superman, because it is very, very good. Genuinely, there are new episodes every single Friday. I'm not sure exactly for how long, but I'm sure it's gonna be like 12, 13 episodes, something like that. Just like a normal anime, hopefully.
Yeah, Superman, my favorite anime.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now let's get into the last bit of the show, where we are going to talk about Secret Invasion episodes 4 and 5. So I mean, I think episode 4 is definitely like the strongest episode this season. All things considered, Disney Plus shows, I think people have really pointed out for some reason, like episode 4, they just go off. I don't know why, but episode 4 was really, really good.
Finale. I don't know.
And sort of just like advancing the story and sort of revealing more of like what's actually happening. So, obviously they showed that Gaia lived, even though that she got shot at the end of episode 3. I'm like, they didn't fucking get Emilia Clarke just for her to die halfway through the series. She's obviously going to be in more of it. But Talos is actually fucking dead. That shit surprised me. I was like, dead, I was like, what the fuck? But also, it just shows that Graphic is just like fucking ruthless and actually just like a psychopath. And I think that this is like another MCU villain that I've just like genuinely hated every single time he's on screen. I'm just like, I fucking hate this guy. This guy is like such an asshole and such a dickhead. But what'd you think of episode 4?
Yeah, I liked it too. I really didn't expect Talos to actually just be dead, because it didn't seem like he would die during that. Like, he got shot and stuff, but I'm like, he'll live. And I'm like, oh shit, he didn't. But in terms of everything else, I think like Rhodey being a Skrull, I'm like, okay. Like, I feel like that was kind of obvious. Like there was points of it where it was like, he's kind of acting like, kind of like out of character and stuff, and it seems pretty obvious that was what the plot point was going to be. And the whole final fight scene was pretty cool as well. Like you said, Graphic is a pretty good villain, because every time I see him, I'm like, I wish this guy would just die at this point. He's like a mega asshole. I just don't like him when they're like smug about it. I'm like, smug about it. But that's good though. Like I think it's always good to have like a villain like that. Like I think he's better than like he feels like a better version of the Falcon and Winter Soldier villain, like the girl, right? I can't remember her name. Like I don't know, I just feel like he feels even more like, because she has like some humanity to her. Like he's just kind of like want to kill everyone. Like he really doesn't care like at all. Not even about his own people. He mostly just wants like humanity to just die at this point, which is like crazy. But I thought it was a pretty good episode. It just shows us like the like the Skrulls like are everywhere and all that bullshit. You know how it is among us. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the scene between Fury and his wife is like the highlight for a lot of people. It was just like a really, really just like good scene to like show like, I guess, like their relationship, and also just like the beginning part where like Graphic was like, you're gonna kill him, or not Graphic, fucking Rhodes, which like that happened before the reveal of him as a Skrull, which I think at that point it was like, all right, Rhodey would not talk like this, or like talk to Fury's wife like this as well, as if they are Skrulls. So then when that reveal did happen, it was kind of just like, all right, it just sort of like confirmed like what everyone was sort of like theorizing. But that was just like a really, really good scene overall. And like the third act sort of set piece, you know, like that was entertaining, although a little clunky in my opinion, just because it was just like, you could tell that like they were all just like within, I guess, like a fucking like set or whatever, and then like the background characters that are just shooting or just doing their own thing, like no one's really like interacting with each other. So yeah, you know, within my notes here, I'm just like no one fucking saw flanking, like no one saw that Talon's just getting flanked, like what the fuck is happening here?
It was weird because they were definitely like doing their own thing, like the soldiers in the background, while like the main characters were doing their stuff. I'm like, he's like, kill this guy, like what are you talking? And he did like the Groot thing, right, like in front of their face, like what are you doing?
Yeah, you know, him being a Super Skrull is definitely going to be an interesting thing that'll happen within the finale. But episode 5, you know, one of the biggest fucking drops in quality in my opinion. I mean, I literally watched the episode last night and I was a little tired. But even then, like, I was just like watching it, I was just like, what the fuck is this Harvest bullshit? And then when they revealed it, where it was like, it's all of the Avengers
made
blood.
up plot point.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, what? Like, how the fuck did you get this? Like, why do you have it all mixed up? I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely like, this definitely feels like, okay, I thought it was gonna be a lot more clever with this shit, but not. It's just like, oh no. When I guess when they were done fighting Thanos, we just got a group of like people to like gather their blood, I guess, and we just get. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's such a weird plot point, but okay, I guess. What I do like about this episode is, you know, like, yeah, it's pretty like brutal with like how to do things. You know, I'm happy that graphics people see that he's a fucking maniac and like want to like overthrow him. Like, it starts with like that one guy getting like stabbed by like Groot, his Groot powers, and then when he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? He's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then they just all ambush him. Like, yeah, fucking kill that guy. But then obviously he's super, so he's not gonna like die that easily. But you know, usually with these dictators is like, yeah, usually the way they die is from their own people and stuff. So you know, I thought that was a pretty cool way to do that. But obviously, you know, he's a super powered Skrull now, so that won't happen. Also, like the I guess the lengths he wants to get this war, like, you know, World War III to happen, being like, oh yeah, like just like bluff that you're gonna nuke our community, you know, like whatever it takes to make these people like start fighting each other. Like I thought all the graphic stuff was very good, basically. Like, you know, I think he's definitely the strongest part of this show now that I'm really watching all this, you know.
Yeah, just like really thinking about it, it's like, okay, yeah, you know, everything with Gravik is just like entertaining because every time he's on screen, like he obviously like has that presence where it's like, oh shit, like what is he gonna do next, or like what's gonna happen? So, you know, that whole sequence with his people trying to kill him was very, very entertaining, and just seeing him, you know, obviously use his Skrull powers and actually be a Skrull for like that one scene, which probably cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that makeup on or whatever, or CG, whatever the fucking case is. Right. But yeah, you know, Gravik is definitely the highlight of this show, and I think this episode really showed that they were not afraid to just show people getting shot at and just like blood happening. I was just like, okay, yeah, I feel like within MCU movies, if I think about it really, really hard, I don't think that was really happening within the movies. I guess maybe because it's a TV show, they could do things differently. But, you know, even then, I feel like this episode overall was just them just like trying to rush to get to the finale, you know, because like there's that whole like sequence with Nick Fury and Sonya, who I had to Google to like figure out what the fuck her name was. But she's pretty much like an MI6 British ally to Fury, and you know, as they're sort of like just getting closer to the finale, that's when they have that whole discussion with like the harvest or whatever, and like me and my girlfriend was just like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, this shit is just so bullshit.
Yeah, it's such a contrived plot point. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it is just so fucking confusing. And then there was that cameo from the Black Widow movie of Rick Manson or Rick Manson. Yeah, no one remembered that, because like I saw it on Twitter, like it was like a spoiler of like his cameo, and I was like, who the fuck is this? So I literally once again Googled like, who the hell is this guy? And then it was like, oh, okay. So yeah, most people probably missed out exactly like what that cameo was, because like if you watch Black Widow when it came out, that was like fucking 2 years ago at this point or whatever. So like you're not gonna remember this side character.
Plus, it was like a forgettable movie to begin with.
So, but yeah, you know, hopefully this finale is able to tie it up kind of nicely, because apparently this series is supposed to tie into the Marvels, which I'm very excited about because of I love Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel to a certain extent as well. But you know, if this show is supposed to tie into that, I wonder how it's all going to play out. Some people are also theorizing about who Nick Fury was on the phone with, because people want, I believe her name is Daisy Johnson, to show up or whatever within the finale, because she was like a pretty big actor within the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, which I did watch to a certain extent. But, you know, that
Agent
show...
of Time. I remember that.
Yes, shut up. That fucking show just went all over the place. So... I doubt she's gonna make an appearance within the finale. I feel like he was on the phone with Captain Rambeau or whatever her last name is, the woman from the WandaVision show.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, whatever happens within this finale, I feel like it's just gonna be another mid or even kind of bad, just like Disney Plus Marvel series, which is unfortunate, because they were like, we're gonna space things out more to like work on the quality of it, and then this show was like extremely hyped because it was looking like it was doing something really, really different, which it did to a certain extent. But I think as of right now, in my opinion, you know, it just did not live up to those expectations, especially after that first episode, man. Holy shit. Yeah,
it's been a very like unenthusiastic. Like I just like don't care about this. I don't know if that's just like Marvel fatigue or whatever, because I've never really felt this way. Like this is the first time like I like don't really care that much. Plus, I feel like a lot of things here like just don't matter that much. It's like, who cares? Also, he's just like, oh, I can't just call down the Avengers. We gotta solve it. What do you mean? Like, we call down like fucking anyone. What are you talking about? Like, at this point, this dude is like a super powered guy. Like, yeah, kill him. Like, get like Captain Marvel to show up. I don't know. Like, I don't know what he's talking about for that. And yeah, the harvest is like really contrived and stuff. And again, graphic being the only good part about the show. It's just like, yeah. I don't know. I felt like this arc probably should have been just like a longer thing to deal with. Like, I feel like having this whole invasion thing probably should have been like multiple movies like in the background. I feel like that would have been
or oh my god, if they were fucking thinking like Five Head, they could have like put like scrolls in, like just like background characters within like certain movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like have them like transform into scrolls from like human. I don't fucking know. You know, just like sort of sprinkle it in a little more.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. Like, with a plot point like this, it definitely should have been like a way later thing, because I feel like who cares? Like the Skrulls were like in one movie, and then like oh, now we have to care, like they're all over the place and they're all infiltrating stuff. I feel like it definitely should have been more of a thing throughout the MCU, where it's like I mean, wasn't Secret Invasion like a whole arc in the comics anyway? Like I feel like it should have been like a whole arc.
I mean, like
I feel that would have been more interesting.
The show is just completely different apparently from the comic. I don't even think they read the comic. They kind of just took that name and it was just like spinning it on its own story of like what they wanted for the MCU. So, you know, that's how it is. So, you know, hopefully the finale will be able to tie things up kind of nicely. I doubt it though, because like I said, episode 5 felt very, very rushed, but they were like, we're running out of episodes to work with for some god awful reason that they still stick to 6 episodes. But yeah, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how the finale is, but yeah, it's been kind of mid. So yeah.
All right, but is there anything else you'd like to add, good sir?
Nope, that is everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 117. I think I said 116 earlier because I was fucking stupid and I didn't change it in the doc. Anyways, thank you for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 117. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.